Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Zach's Workbook. We're going to be going over 2 weeks in this episode. Hopefully it won't be too incredibly long, but I do have a lot to talk about. So I'll just get right into it. First of all, Monday of the second to last week of classes, worked on more energy work with Lou Papillon. And this one was us sitting in the chair doing a repetitive task. I was putting on my shoes. I had Robert watching me while I was doing this. And Lou would read off the energies, and we would have to try and do our best to follow along with what she said and produce the energies that she asked for. And when she would ask us to control everything, we would have to try that as well. Surprisingly more difficult than you'd realize. We got to this one where she said, you're about to go on a date with someone that you're very interested in, whether you have a crush on the person or you're in love with them or whatever. So you're putting on your shoes about ready to get on this date. While we're doing that, Robert's walking around me and trying to catch me off guard and notice that I am in love. And if I show him anything like that, then I get in trouble, basically. Surprisingly more difficult than I thought it would be. As Robert is walking around me, I find myself laughing at him walking around because I'm in love. And I got so deep into my character that even though I don't currently love anybody, I was laughing because I was in love. It was kind of cute. From Lou's class, moved on to talking with Alex again about our workbooks. This was kind of just how was the semester as a whole? What did you guys learn? That type of stuff. I'm not really going to go into too deep of details about that. Francois, same typical voice stuff that we always do. Went into Roger's class and we had a different person this week. We had Enrique. He wasn't teaching us the rapier and dagger method that we were learning. He taught us the stage combat version of it again, so we went back to that for the first time in like 6 weeks. So it was pretty nice to get a refresher course on that. Moving into Tuesday, we go into Lou Papillon's class, the second one, and we finished up learning the Pavan, which is fairly easy, straightforward, to the point. We finished it in 2 hours, I think. She asked us to be attempting to having conversation while doing the Pavan, which if we had learned it a day earlier and had an extra hour with it, I think we could have been able to do. Moving into individual singing, we went into Rob's class, and this time I sang Shrek again. And he seemed to enjoy it. He gave me just a few pointers, nothing too big. His biggest tip for me is over the break I needed to work on my tongue tension, so doing the little swirls and pushing it out, and also my soft palate needs to be worked on, so I know the tricks to doing that. So nge, nge, nga, ngoo. So after Rob's class, we moved into Colin's class, and we finished up and we polished the As You Like It dance that we were doing for our final song. And I'm glad that we did, because it was actually a nice addition to the show. It was actually kind of fun towards the end of putting on the show to do it, so I'm glad that we did it. I'm so bothered by how frustrating it was for me. Particularly the marching and clapping at the same time was very difficult, but once I eventually got it, I got it. Going back into ensemble singing, we did literally every song that we've done throughout the course, except for we didn't do the Mikado. Apparently nobody really wanted to do that one, but that's okay. And then we finally moved into Phillida's class for the last time, and we did Christmas poetry and readings in RP. Then we moved into Alex's class and we did chakra work again, but he also gave us our new scenes. And my scene is with Madison, and we're going to be doing a scene from The Way of the World. And this scene is aptly called the Provisio scene, and it's fairly well known in the theater community. Anybody that happens to know restoration comedies knows this scene. Then we went into Roger's class. And we had a good time of doing Angel and Traveler and just kind of exploring the room, and it was a very fun last class of his for that semester. I'm excited to get back into it next semester. I love Roger's class. Just being able to explore and do whatever you want feels really good sometimes. But on Wednesday, we ran Act 4 all the way through with David Jackson's notes. Thursday, we ran Act 5 and then the entire show for the first time. That was pretty interesting to see the show all put together finally. That was literally our first showing. Yeah, and then David gave us notes afterwards. And because it was our first showing, he didn't give us a lot of notes. He just kind of sat back and watched it because he was enjoying it. And I frankly like that. And I think that speaks volumes about our group, that we were good. We were doing fairly good. Every single one of us brought something to the table, so I'm very happy about that. Moving into Friday, we ran the entire show with an audience for the first time. We had the MFA second years show up and watch our show along with Alex and a couple other professors. Roger, I believe, was there. I think for our first showing with an audience, it went okay. I'm happy about it. There was things obviously that we could have fixed. My lines, for example, I wish I had those down a little bit better in certain areas, but this was my first time with Shakespeare. I'm not mad at myself for not knowing 100% lines until our first actual showing. We had an audience for this one because the MFA second years couldn't come see us because of Hamlet. When we actually had professors there and they were grading us and everything, that's when I had my lines down, and I'm much happier about that. Then after that showing, we moved on to song and sonnet sharing with Simon and Carrie. I did my Shrek song and The Rising of the Moon. My Shrek song went much better than The Rising of the Moon because I had practiced it so many times in front of her specifically. I relaxed so much and just did it, and she was very happy about that. And then The Rising of the Moon, I hadn't done it as many times, and when I had done it, I was still on book, really. It took me forever to memorize the lyrics of that. And even then, I think I missed one of the ending lines. I might have screwed it up at some point, but that's okay. Won't be doing either of those songs next semester. I have to find new songs, so we'll see how that goes. Then we move into our last week. On Monday, the first thing that we did was a line speed through. So we just sat around in a circle, and we ran through our lines as quickly as we could. And anytime anybody would pause, or they would screw up a line, David would clap, and we'd have to start over from the cue before that. And I think that helped speed us along. By the end of the show, we were at an hour 35, and before that, we were at about an hour 45, hour 40. So the speed through of the lines really helped. And then we did what was called a Peter Hall run. So the Peter Hall run involved us doing one bit of one scene at a time. So we would do the bit, David would give us some notes, and then we would redo that bit and then move into the next bit. And so then when we'd get to that second bit, we would do it, David would give us some notes, we'd redo it, move into the third bit, so on and so forth. That took a little bit of time. We got done with Act 3 on Monday, but then we had to move to Tuesday, we did Act 4 and 5. We wanted to get the Peter Hall run done on Monday, but it just didn't work out that way. We moved into Tuesday, and after the final Peter Hall run, we did a cue to cue as quickly as we possibly could, and that got us into our Wednesday, where we finally presented this for our professors. We did a lot of prep beforehand, and then we presented it. And the presentations were the best ever. Wednesday's performance was good. Thursday's performance was better, in my opinion. Because Thursday we weren't all stressed out. We're just like, you know what, let's just do this and have fun with it. Which realistically is what we should have been doing from the beginning, but because it was our first semester at a new school where we're being graded on our acting, we were all stressed out. I think, anyway. At least I was. I was really stressed out. And I shouldn't have been, but I was. This semester coming up, I think I'm going to be way more relaxed. People are going to see a huge difference in me. Then on Friday, we came in and did individual tutorials with David Jackson, and he kind of just asked us how we felt about it, and so I went through some of the things that he had mentioned over time, as well as how I specifically felt. And I understand my personal process really well. I know what happens. Maybe at auditions, I can put in a crap ton of energy, and then throughout the rehearsal portion of it, because I'm trying to learn so much and think about so many different things, I don't put in as much energy, and I feel like I'm putting in a lot of energy. And then when we get to the performance and everything is solid in my brain, then I pump out the energy. And David didn't really like that. He thinks that other directors aren't going to like that either. And so I have to figure out some way to be able to click everything in my head and pump out a lot of energy so that my directors think that I'm doing something right. We also got our individual tutorials with Alex if we had time. Some people didn't have time and went back to the States way before they had the chance to. But I got to do my individual tutorial with Alex. He had a lot of the same things to say that David did, mostly about like line preparation and energy as well. But also, apparently I didn't go far enough with my characterization, like my movement and my centering for Touchstone. I did with Charles, but not with Touchstone. Whereas what I felt I did with Touchstone is I took it to the extreme, and then I reeled it really far back to make him realistic. But apparently I brought it so far back that it was myself. So I have to work on not bringing it so far back in the future. I'm pretty happy with my marks 57%, 56%, 57%. So, which if you understand the British way of doing marks, it's not an F here. 57% is pretty much average. A 50% is as low as you can go and still be passing, but you're never going to get 100%. You're never going to get a 90%. The highest I will likely ever get is an 85%. A 70 is better than average, you know. These numbers will come over time. So for my first semester, I'm happy with the marks that I got. And I think I'm going to be much more relaxed in these future classes, and that's going to help my marks go up quite a bit because I can be a better actor than I showed them, and I showed them a pretty decent actor. So these next semesters should be better. All right, well, I've taken enough of your time today. Thanks, guys, for watching this. Thanks for an amazing semester, everybody in the program, as well as all of our tutors. I will see you guys in 2016, January 11th. Our first week of semester 2. Alright guys, take care.